All right, before we get into our regular edition of Keefer's Corner, we're going to have Coach say a few words.
Yeah, I just had a really neat story that I wanted to share. We had a Tank and Judy Vienendahl donated the team's meal on Thursday of last week, just really out of nowhere. And it's kind of a cool story because it gave me a chance to talk about Tank in terms of, when I first started coaching here in 1989, I coached with Tank for 6 years, on the staff here. And then I believe we left the same time, I think, when Jack Schultz retired. I went to River Falls, and I think Tank retired from coaching at that point. So I've known him for a long time, and he's a Blackhawk, and he's always, been a great supporter. And, for them to, make this generous donation to cover our kids' meals on Thursday, I mean, that was a very sizable thing. And, wishing Tank and his family all the best. And then we've also had a couple other people step up big time, with our impending trip to Freedom. Don Tillman has volunteered to help out with the coach bus cost because it's obviously more than a school bus. And then Nick Pac-Man Concrete has covered like our food for the trip, which is very generous on both. And I just wanted to make sure people are aware and give them a big shout out. We're very fortunate because we have so much support in this community, and we certainly feel a lot of gratitude. So hopefully we can hold up our end of the deal and keep this thing rolling.
Absolutely. Now we'll get to our regularly scheduled Keefer's Corner episode. Welcome to another edition of Keefer's Corner. I'm Jeremy Nygaard. That's Nick Pack. That's Coach Keefer. Coach, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good.
So last week we welcomed back Ellsworth for first time this year, but a rematch of a Week 5 game, I believe. A game that, when you look back at the box score, we didn't score a lot offensively, had 2 defensive touchdowns, didn't play a great game, won that game in Week 5. In the rematch, a little bit different story. The offense would look to be clicking again, and defense played really, really well. Up 35-0 just minutes into the third quarter. We coast to a 42-7 Level 2 victory. Off now to what's no longer called Level 3, Sectional Final at Freedom on Friday night. But let's talk about Ellsworth. What were your impressions of Friday night's victory over the Panthers?
Well, I was obviously very happy with how we played. I thought we played a good game. Defensively, we were very strong. I felt like we were one of our better defensive games, and that's a tough front. Those people are good up front. They're very good. I felt like I thought Andrew Thompson maybe played his best game. I thought Drew Vienendahl played a really good game, and that's very exciting to see those guys because they're clearly getting better. I just thought we fit a lot of our run fits were better. I thought linebacker play was very solid. I think Gavin at free safety, he fit in the run game very well, as did, Bodie Everts was a week healthier, coming off a little injury, and I thought Bodie did a fine job. I thought Logan Johnson did a nice job stepping in. Dawson Vienendahl is a kid that's a little underappreciated. I'll tell you, he is a fantastic cover guy. He just continues to do a really solid job there, and so it was I thought a really good effort defensively. Offensively, we had it rolling pretty good. The O-line, reviewing the first game against Ellsworth in preparation for the rematch, I was struck by how many things we were actually doing wrong in that game. We just missed assignments and not doing things right. And I thought we cleaned a lot of that up, against Ellsworth. The second time we did a couple little things differently just to try to maximize maybe, that Comer kid, number 56, is one of the best kids we're going to see. And, we really kind of changed a couple of rules and just kind of kept double teams on him and not worried so much about the linebacker, and just because you can't single block that kid. He's just too dang good. And so I think that helped us a little bit too. Having a healthier Taden Haldorf certainly made a difference. He was dinged up a little bit. He had a hamstring injury he was dealing with back Week 5. I thought the special teams was pretty solid. That I don't think it was a fake punt. I believe it. In fact, I'm very confident after watching the film because they weren't blocking for him. He thought it was going to get blocked, so he tucked it and started running just instinctively because you could see there were guys that were like turning and looking. They weren't blocking. They were surprised. But that was a big stop. Obviously, special teams wise, snuffing them on that was a big deal. And we had some good kicks, and part of that was we were going to squib it, but we weren't really getting the ball very deep on the squib, so that kind of was not great. So then we cut it loose and let Chase kick it, and he kicked it well, and we got down and covered it pretty well. So that was encouraging. So we did give up another kind of a long run, and that's frustrating. Put in some younger guys, and just that's going to happen as part of growing. So just as long as we learn from it, it's fine.
It's no surprise that offensively you can put up big numbers and stats, points. So how much does it benefit you offensively when your defense can go out and put up zeros? I want to say it was in the second half before they got a first down. It was like 5 or 6 possessions that Ellsworth had before they got a first down. I mean, when you have a prolific offense that can score a lot of points, but then your defense comes out and says, "Hey, yeah, we're the best team out here tonight."
Mm-hmm.
What does that say to your offense?
That's great. I mean, obviously it's we hear everybody talking about it's complementary football. When you're playing good on one side of the ball, you're hoping that it feeds into the other side of the ball, and they just kind of go back and forth like you're playing the game. We're one team. It's all the same group of kids, and those kids are pretty darn talented on defense too. And I think they've had a really good year, and I feel like defensively we're getting better. Now you want to talk about a new challenge coming up with Freedom. This will be a really good challenge because this team that we're going to face at Freedom on Friday, they're good. I mean, they're what I see in Freedom is they have a extremely talented quarterback. Okay, and he is. They list him at 6'1", 175, so he's not like a big physically imposing quarterback, but he makes people miss. His mobility is unlike anybody we've played against this year. We have not played against a quarterback like that. He loves to throw the ball. Like he'll get it, and they have some really good pass concepts, and they're going to be challenging to defend. But where they're at their best is when that quarterback is off schedule and he's running around and he's breaking the pocket, and they are fantastic at the short routes go deep, the deep routes come short. It's classic scramble drill. And what happens, what I see week after week as I look at their film, is I see high school kids that are doing a great job covering their receivers, and they have a really good stable of receivers. But they're covering for like 4 seconds, and like in your head, you're like, well, that's got to be about it. But it's really not, because that kid creates time, and he runs around and he'll threaten the line of scrimmage, and then as soon as you come off, boom, he'll throw it. And in their scramble drill, they just get lost, and then he has great vision of the field, and he'll find guys. I watched a few of their games. Some of that stuff's online, and you can watch them. And they beat Wrightstown. 30 seconds left. They're losing, and he runs around. Kid gets lost. He throws a game-winning touchdown, about a 40-yard play. Kid in the end zone. There's nobody within 25 yards of this kid, and you're like, how did that happen? But what happens is kids take their eyes off, because they got to look to see what's going on. So, I mean, I think that's a very unique challenge. Like, you have to be super disciplined. Keep your freaking eyes on your receiver. And we have other people that are going to be in charge of taking care of that, right? I mean, the kid, I think he's thrown for like 2,500. And he had 4 kids that were very close to like 500 yards receiving. 4 different kids. So they spread it around. They don't have the one dude. Yeah, they're going to be a challenge to defend. So we have, I think, a good plan. I think we got a pretty good handle on what they do well, and we're going to try to stop them, and that's going to be a great challenge because this kid's a real deal. That quarterback is something. His name is Drew Courts, number 5.
Yeah, so I want to talk more about Ellsworth, but since we're talking about Freedom, I mean, I think the quarterback that's probably the most comparable that we've seen is Kane Donnelly from Somerset.
Yeah,
to this guy from Freedom.
Yeah,
and that's what Donnelly really wanted to do too, right? Get it once he got out of the pocket, move around, try to set your feet, try to throw the ball.
Mm-hmm.
The Freedom receivers look far more athletic, much bigger targets than what Somerset had. Is that a fair comparison?
They got some kid. I think their tallest receiver was listed at 6 feet.
Seriously, because they looked bigger.
They do. On film, I agree.
And it might be the level of the cameras a little bit lower. To me, they just watching that game, Freedom looked like they were big.
The Prescott game.
Yeah.
And
so that to me was
they're big up front. I mean, they're like if you want to look at their defense, they have the 74. I can't remember the last name right off the top of my head, but him and 52, I think, are brothers.
Okay.
And they're both, or maybe it's 53, but they are Vanden Heyden or something like that.
Okay.
74 is heavyweight wrestling runner-up, lost to the Hopkey kid.
Everybody lost to the Hopkey.
Right. But I mean, he's a good player, right? Yeah. I mean, he's a big body. He'll be a difficult kid to move. They have 2 good athletic DNs. They have some good size at D tackle. They look like their overhang players are active, good looking players, and they're fast. I mean, they have a lot of good athletes. So yeah, I think it's a good team.
Well, and that was kind of the impression I got. What they did to Bernick and Prescott on Saturday, he never looked comfortable ever. 2 interceptions in the first half, lost fumble in the first half. By the time that was halftime, that game was for all intents and purposes over.
Yeah, I thought the pick 6 really was was a big play in that game. But I also think you have to understand the psyche of high school kids, and they lost Barrett Timmers, who is from what I know of through Coach Hansen and other people. The Timmers kid's a special kid. And he's one of their rock solid leaders.
Right.
And anytime you lose one of those big leaders, it's easier for kids to not believe that they're going to get it done.
Right.
And to me, it looked like Prescott kind of fell into that a little bit. They just felt like they weren't going to win. Like something went wrong. It seemed like it snowballed a little bit. I don't know. I mean, they had a fantastic year, and that just didn't seem like them to me.
Right.
So,
I do want to go back to Ellsworth a little bit and just ask you some things. The 2-point conversion package looked like something new came out on that first attempt. That wasn't new?
No.
Is that legal?
Illegal.
Okay.
Can't be done. Yeah. I mean, you do your best when you coach, and like it's a little self-indicting, but we leading up to it, we're like, hey, we follow our rules. We follow our rules on the spice package, and we don't do anything cute in spice. Nothing cute. We came out and we decided, hey, let's just flick it to an ineligible center. Oh, I was so ticked off. I mean, I got over it, but I literally told the officials, 15 minutes of real time earlier, it's like, yep, our center is ineligible. He cannot catch the ball. He is covered. You're trying to be clear. This is what we're doing, so they understand why it's legal and whatnot.
Yeah, because the ball was dropped, so it didn't matter.
He dropped it on purpose, he said, because he didn't want to get a penalty. Which was, that's fine, but
it's still a penalty.
Yeah.
But they would have had to accept the penalty, and then we could have played the down over.
Yeah, you're right.
So we see the flight come out after the drop. Then we're trying to figure out what's going on. You're clearly not happy.
Yeah.
So we're still trying to figure out what's going on. But this all makes more sense now because we're like, well, if you back up, if he's uncovered,
Then he'd be fine.
so that could potentially be
It's a potential thing you could do with a little alignment change, right?
And then I did see, and I text you about this, I saw a college team doing the same thing, only they bring Jimmy's position in like a jet motion.
Mm-hmm.
And so I find these things interesting as when I'm seeing it on TV, because it's like, what we do is pretty simple.
Mm-hmm.
There's been three variations, right?
3.
Tatum either runs it in,
Mm-hmm.
Gavin either makes someone miss and runs it in, or Gavin throws it to Dane. Right? Well, that's what
You're
That's what we've
close.
seen.
There's 2 different runs where Tatum runs in. There's 2 different things we do there. So there's actually 4 things, I guess.
Okay.
But we call 3 plays. And, like if Gav deems that they leave the guy and they're eligible, you can throw it.
Right.
That's on the table.
And Gavin's he's got a few moves too, so there's a few options because sometimes you think he's going to run it to the outside. Who do you make? He made the Anderson kid look silly.
Yeah, it's not fair. I mean, some of the things he does to people, it's just like, wow.
I would hate to be the guy that has to try to ISO.
I agree.
Because you're either gonna miss and fall this way, or you're gonna miss and fall this way, or he's gonna run you to the corner.
Yeah,
I think that was the best Anderson play was when he just got flat out beat to the edge. Because at least then you're like, well, he just outran me. In space, when he makes you do that, that's just
Anderson got him once though. Anderson got him pretty good on the one.
That is true. You have any Ellsworth things you want to talk about?
Well, just talk offensively because we did mention a lot about defense. Was there offensive standouts you had? I mean, you took the ball and you just drove March down, but like obviously once again the offensive line.
The line is
the first
playing,
to point out
they're playing really good. I mean, it just doesn't happen, it's very true that we have a terrific combination of things. You have Tatum Holdorf, who's extremely talented and a very, very good running back, and you have Gavin Sell, who obviously is amazingly talented too. If you don't have an O-line in front of them, none of this happens. You don't have guys like Jimmy Kropelnicki blocking. You don't have guys like Logan Johnson blocking. You watch our receivers; they're going to block, right? I mean, they do. I mean, we really, it's a team thing. If you're not, well, you can go right back to the Ellsworth game, early in the year where we were not blocking things correctly. Now part of that was because Ellsworth kids were, they're hard to block. 64 is a really good player for Ellsworth. He's coming back. I think 56. He was fantastic. He's a handful, the Comer kid. So yeah, I mean they got some good players. So I mean, yeah, I actually think it is impressive when you can go against an outfit like that and beat them like that. That says something. We're definitely getting better.
So then you can sneak in random, like I always talk about, like it's nice to run, whether it's Tatum or Gavin, or you get the jet sweeps here and there. All of a sudden you sneak in the wheel route, you sneak in receiver route, you sneak in Jimmy over the middle. Those aren't sneak plays; those are big plays.
Yeah,
that come at very opportune times.
Right. I thought the touchdown pass we had, that was a great throw, and I mean, I don't even think he broke stride. I mean, he hit Dane, right? Wasn't it Dane?
Yep.
Hit him. It was just a nice little thing that we figured we could maybe get, and by God, it worked out great.
So I didn't go back and look, but I'm curious. Has there been a game since you've been the head coach where we've passed the ball less than 5 times? We're 2 for 4 on Friday.
I don't think so. I'm not. If you asked me that, I don't know that that's ever happened.
I don't think it's ever happened. And what's crazy, I don't think I called for a single pass the whole night. I don't think I did. Now that I'm thinking about it, and I'm always calling for passes.
Here's the thing: it's not because I don't think we're good at passing. That's not what I mean. But if you can run the ball,
right?
I mean, sometimes you should throw And it doesn't even have to be complete, but you have to throw because it changes how people defend you.
Right.
It makes a difference. So it's like, I don't know. Actually, we had one that I felt pretty good that was going to be a touchdown. But I told Gav, it's not your fault, brother, because he threw one like fairly early. And maybe on the first drive we did a little, maybe it was a little flood or something. I can't remember, but he threw a little short one to Jimmy. I think there was a penalty, and it left us like 3rd and 1 or something like that. We declined the penalty, took the 3rd and 1 versus.
That was down in the zone.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So we threw there. Then we didn't throw again. It was like midway through the second quarter. So it's like the kid. You have to almost warm up again. You know what I mean? Even though you're playing, it's different when you're not throwing the ball. He literally maybe should, when the little bit that he's off the field, like a special teams kickoff, stuff like that, he might have to go throw the ball a couple times just to stay loose. And then after he threw that one that wasn't, I think it just kind of got away from him. Then the next one, I told him, I said, hey, you had your warm-up throw. You should be good. And then sure enough, he put it right on the money. He's got a great arm. Gavin he really does. He can throw the ball for forever.
He gets that from Michelle. He obviously doesn't get that from Jason. So that penalty that you talked about, we actually debated up top. How much thought do you give into getting an extra down? Because it's one of those weird, like half the distance, so it's not a first down.
Yeah, I think we could have had the ball in the 8.
Second and
3 or 4.
Yeah,
I thought it was going to be like 5, but whatever. 2nd and 5 or 3rd and 1, and I was like, we're going to get it, so let's go.
Right. You just figure we're going to get it. We
got 2 shots at it.
Closer. Okay. Yeah, because that was one I'm like, I don't know. To me, it's like one that a lot of penalties are pretty cut and dry. You don't even have to.
Yeah, that one you could debate it. It was debatable without a doubt.
The other thing I got to ask you. So when we get running clock early in the 3rd quarter, you know where I'm going with this.
I do, yeah.
And so Nick says, I think the starters, they're done playing, and I'm like, I'd probably give them one more drive.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like we're both kind of right because the young guys came in, and then 3 and out, and then Ellsworth goes 84 on a carry, and then the starters come back in.
Well, we did not intend to have a long touchdown run. We intended to get some first downs, move eat some clock, and just don't let something freaky happen, right? I've told this story. I think I've even told it on here. About witnessing the 13-point lead gone in
last 11
seconds. Exactly. So I guess if I'm going to err, I'm going to err on the side of not letting that happen. Once we realized that their JV were in, and it was literally one play. If we don't score, we're going to put our JV in too. You know what I mean? We're not gonna, but you never know. I mean, it's playoffs. There's some finality. It at that point I think it was 35-7.
Correct.
And you never know. You get nervous. So I mean, it's out of respect for your opponent. It's definitely not out of trying to hey, we're gonna rub it in. That's not it at all. And then the rest of the thing. And I think the Ellsworth staff was totally, there was nothing but goodwill after the game. There was no, they didn't seem ticked about anything, and that's good. It wasn't intended to, be, showing somebody up.
Gotcha.
So looking ahead to Freedom now, we have 3.5 hour normal car ride. Whether it's a bus right now, it's probably breaking it up with a stop along the way. What's the preparation on Friday? What's Friday like for these kids? At what point do we start thinking? And we're thinking freedom football right now. Don't get me wrong, but that's different than going to Somerset. That's different than going to Ellsworth.
That's a different day. Obviously, it is, but we'll try to make the week and that day as normal as we can. So, obviously tonight, Monday, we did, watch some film and, did some install stuff on the field with the kids and, shorter practice. Tomorrow we'll get after it. Wednesday we'll get after it. Thursday we'll polish it, just like we always do. We'll have our meetings, Wednesday and Thursday, watching, film of practice and sharpening things up. And then Friday they'll go to school. They're going to have a school lunch around 11. Then we're going to leave shortly after they have lunch. We're going to drive to, I believe, somewhere near Wausau. Probably going to go to a rest area. So that's about 2 hours, 2 hours and 2 minutes. That's probably from Woodville, so maybe it's a little longer, but a little over 2 hours to get to this rest area. We'll get out, we'll walk around. I'll do a walkthrough with the kids. Just get them off so they're not sitting forever. Then we get back in the bus. I think we're going to eat someplace in Shawano. We got 2 places that we're kind of negotiating with to see. So we'd arrive there at maybe like 2:45. That would block an hour for us to eat something. Then we get back on the bus. It's 45 minutes from Shawano to Freedom. We get there at 4:30 and we start, maybe sending some guys out in the field to see what their field's like, because it's kind of an unfortunate situation. We cannot practice on our practice field. Our practice field right now is not safe for us to be on. It's got all kinds of, it's been a tough year, right, with the drought and whatnot, but you have crabgrass. Just take a look at it. It looks like there's hundreds of little like landmines that are all like sticking up, and it's just we can't go on it. And plus, we need, this time of the year, you need lights anyway, so you're going to have to be on the field. So we're going to practice this week on turf. We're going to play on grass on Friday. So I would like them to go out and run around a little bit, just so they get the feel for what it's like, And we'll go through our normal stuff, play our game like we've been playing, and when the game's done, we'll throw some pizzas at them and hopefully have a fun ride back to Baldwin.
And that can be like one of the things I think about when I think about the Baldwinville football team is like, it's a team thing. Again, it's you're not picking out an individual that is leading this team to where they are. You're not picking out whether it's offense or defense. You're not separating them. You can make it into a 3.5 hour like bonding experience almost. Like, hey, we're gonna do this. We're gonna have fun doing this. We're gonna do this as a team, and then also when it's business time, we're gonna go show who we are, and we got opportunity to show what Baldwinville football and Middle Border Conference is about.
Well, we certainly respect Freedom and the job that they've done, but I will also say that we feel very good. Like we got a lot of good kids, and I also think that there are some things, like we've watched, and they play in a good league. Not at all saying they don't, because their league's very good, right? I think an advantage we have is, that was not normal Prescott. So they probably maybe are looking at us a little differently, like, hey, these guys, But I think that's definitely to our advantage. And we're going to be a little different than anything they've seen. I mean, I've through, working on this and looking, I've watched a lot of games of their games, and not disrespecting their opponents, but they don't do things like we're doing. I mean, there's a couple things that I think we got that are very unique, like some of it's personnel, but some of it's also, we'll see how they handle, all the perimeter stuff. I happen to think that we are very, very physical on the perimeter. And I feel like that's going to be something that, we're going to have to try to exploit.
Was there any in watching, and again, you've watched a lot more than I have. I watched Saturday's game. Was there anything that you saw Saturday that suggested maybe we play it a little bit more with the tempo of previous years? That
I would expect that we'll tempo the thing more than we have in some games.
And that was just kind of in watching them, I'm like, that might be something. The other thing I was going to ask, Mount Horeb, that trip, how similar is your itinerary Did that give you any? Because it's a similar distance, right? I mean,
Yeah, it probably is similar distance.
not that the kids. That was before school started.
I think we ate sandwiches. Like we just packed sandwiches, and we still might. I'm going to see what the cost is. To feed the kids. Because if it's cheaper to get the sandwiches, if they're going to try to charge us $15 a plate or something, we're probably not going to do that. So that's still, like I said, it's a little bit up in the air. They're getting back to me, but so yeah, I guess there are some similarities. It's
the fact that you've done it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like
a big difference will be we're not going to go on school buses. We're going to take a coach bus,
right?
And I will say this is hugely generous thing. Don Tillman just reached out and says, "Are you getting a coach bus?" And I said, "Yeah, we're going to get a coach bus." He says, "Well," he says, "if you need a little help on that, like financially backing you on that, let us know." So I mean, that's
big time.
That's a big time thing. So certainly appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like kind of Falls when they came, whatever their 4-hour drive, but a lot of their road games are significant trips that you get not necessarily good at it, but it becomes less of a big deal if you've done it, right?
Yeah.
We went to Mount Horeb this year. The kids went to lacrosse last year, GET last year, right? We've had some longer trips. Arcadia last year.
Yeah, I don't really think it's like a huge deal. It really isn't. I mean, there's some logistics and we got a plan and blah blah blah, but they're gonna be comfortable. Again, get out. It's gonna be fine. It'll be just fine.
I don't know about you guys, but I was a sleeper. We get on a bus. It didn't matter if we're going to, I guess Hammond not so much, but they weren't in the conference. It didn't matter if we were going to Amory or if we were going 2 hours. I was just gonna put my headphones on. And I was just gonna take a nap.
Kids can do what they want to do.
That wasn't your style. You weren't like that when you played.
No, I don't really recall sleeping on the bus. Not in high school. Like college. You had some longer trips, and after a game, you'd definitely probably go to sleep.
Sleeper?
No, not a sleeper, but at all. So only I want to say is like, and I know you'll play this down as a coach, and the players might play it down, but I come from Minnesota. A little different now. They changed the naming of it this year to like a sectional final.
Right.
And it just, I want to make sure people realize what you've accomplished this year, last year, even the year before. In Minnesota, they bring 8 teams to state. So to make the state tournament in Minnesota, you are one of 8 teams remaining. We're one of 8 teams remaining right now in Division 4. So it's weird how they always had it's level 3. And last year, you made the level 4. I think it was maybe a week or two when I realized you were the state semifinals last year. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Being from Minnesota.
Yeah.
Like, that was a state semifinal game.
Yeah.
And to me, that means more. That sounds more. And whether it's not, they want to get all hardware or whatever. I know it's a name, but it's a huge accomplishment to make it this far. Let alone, the next level. And that's an accomplishment to both teams. This year, but again, I just want to make sure people realize there's 8 teams remaining in your level right now, and it's an honor to be one of those 8 teams of your.
It's a credit to the kids and how hard they're working, and it's been good. Yeah. It's been a lot of fun. We'll have to check it out. I don't know what the records are, but I think we won 10 in a row. Right? That's pretty dang good.
I was going to actually mention that because I don't know, and I didn't look at like the 92 and the 94 teams. I don't know that we've ever, and I shouldn't say ever. There's not a time to me that's obvious that we've won 10 straight games in any season.
That's possible. I don't know. It's been good, and we'll see. We haven't really had a lot of close games either. It's been a kind of a strange year. It really has in that regard. I guess the closest games or the Ellsworth game. Yeah, was close. The Mount Hope game was not close. I mean, we were on the humbling side of that one. Prescott, it was final score was close, but yet it wasn't quite as close as I don't think the score indicated in that game. But
Central game
was close. Yeah, that was probably the closest one, really. I mean, longest time where it was
competitive.
Yep. And in doubt. So, and I contrast that to the team we're going to play. Okay, Freedom had an unbelievable game with Fox Valley Lutheran, a double overtime game where, I mean, they could have got beat 3 different times in that game. They could have lost to Wrightstown, but they found a way, 30 seconds, they find a kid in the back of the end zone, 40-yard touchdown. Luxembourg Casco had them, they had an unfortunate penalty. It was a very close game late, and then they had a significant gain, but then they got flagged on a hold that, whatever. But, those things are part of the game. So they've been in some, close, tough games where they've been definitely like right down the wire. And we have not had that experience yet. Our kids will rise to the occasion. The reason that hasn't happened is because we've been good. I mean, we've been taking care of it. So we just got to keep that going.
I know you're not one that really cares at all about rankings, which is probably why I bring it up more than I need to. If you cared, I'd be like, well, we don't need to talk about it. They stopped doing the coaches poll when the playoffs started. Max Preps has like computer generated rankings, and they rank all the teams in the state, which is kind of neat because it's like you can look Division 1, they're all mixed in with Division 2 and Division 3. So like Mount Horb's been top 10 for quite a while in the whole state, regardless of division. BW versus Freedom, when I looked, I don't think it was updated yet with the last week's games. One team was 21 and one team was 23. So as far as like
computers,
comparable. But these computers have also like correctly predicted some of the upsets by seeds. So like that to me is just kind of cool. But 2 teams, Division 4, being in the top 25 in the state, to me that's a neat thing.
That is neat.
And when you look at 2 teams in level 3, I mean there's 8 teams left in Division 4, Division 3, Division 2, Division 1, all the way. That it's a pretty high profile matchup for being a division, or for being a level 3, not level 3, sectional final game, because I think both teams, as we've kind of seen in the past, the matchup, the level of the matchup isn't always indicative of the spot that it should be in the bracket, right? The year we played Columbus in level 2, I think everybody that watched that game would have thought that game would have been a better off game being played maybe a couple weeks later, right? Last year's game against Lodi, obviously Lodi beat us, but that was a closer game than the next week that Lodi played.
Correct.
And so to see 2 teams that are as good as I feel like these 2 teams are playing in level 3, maybe doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but at the same time, you're going to have to beat everybody.
Absolutely.
Right? You got to get 5.
There's no, I feel very good about how the bracketing went. I mean, sure, I'd love to be at home, but it's totally fine. It's totally fine. We definitely have a group that they're capable. I mean, we play our game and we do our thing. We're going to be just fine. I am very, very confident in our kids and what we can do. So now it's just time to, practice it, keep getting better this week, and go out and prove it, right? And I'm sure they're telling their kids the same thing, and that's fine. But no, this is a group that, I think the spotlight in this game is going to go on the defense. I really do. I think whichever team plays the best defense is going to win this game. They're a good team. They've scored points. We've scored points. Something's going to have to give, right? So I'm excited for it.
Which kind of leads me to my last question. You kind of almost answered it there. Like, if there's one area that if you felt like you needed to be above expectation, I think their offense is not. There's no disrespect to either defense at all. Defense has been great, but I think they would say their offense is probably better than their defense.
I think that's fair.
I think most Blackhawk fans would say our offense is better than our defense, and our special teams would both be third. If there's one area that you feel like you need to rise above and or be better than expectations to win this game, which one would it be?
Right. I don't think there's this one like, oh, hey, we got to be good here. I think we can win it multiple ways. We can go track meet on offense, possibly win it that way. We could go lights out on defense, win it that way. You could, this is a game where you get a handful of stops. That might be enough to win this game. So special teams is the X factor. I thought, last week, I thought our special teams were actually, pretty solid. We didn't yield anything, and they, got them on the punt. That's a big deal, right? So, and ultimately, it will be taking care of the ball. Yeah, if we take care of the ball, we're going to win the game. I feel very confident in our ability to take care of the ball. I do, because I've seen them do it repeatedly, week after week after week. I'm not hoping for it. I've seen it. We practice it. We're going to take care of the ball because we do emphasize it. And I don't know that our opponents are going to take care of the ball at the same level that we're going to take care of it. And that's based on what I see right now. There's no guarantee, that it's going to go that way. But, I know this, our kids are they're locked in, and we're going to have it's going to be a good challenge. But I will absolutely expect our kids to perform at a very high level on Friday.
Well, I'll go back to Nygaard, who's going to probably talk about other stuff. But best of luck on Friday. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, usually this is when we talk about the Badgers and the Packers. The Badgers are awful, and then they play Oregon on Saturday, which is going to be.
Don't they have a bye? I thought they had a bye this week, and then I think they need a bye.
Well, the next game is against Oregon, and that's going to be disgusting too. So I don't even really want to talk about them. And then the Packers, that was also kind of disgusting. Jordan Love threw an interception that was,
pretty. People got to remember he's a young quarterback, man. It's his second year. I do think his mobility. I was very surprised they kept him in the game. I just did. I thought, because to me he still wasn't moving real good, and that I really think that's why he threw that interception, because he couldn't get away and he was just slower, and just if he was able to run, I would think you'd throw that out of bounds and just get rid of it. But maybe I'm wrong.
It was just a really bad interception.
Horrible.
I mean, there's been some Will Levis interceptions this year, and then there's that Jordan Love interceptions for me anyway. All right, so it's going to be a Friday night game at Freedom, 7 p.m. They are the facilities there are older, so it looks like they maybe added some bleachers on the visitor side since last year. So there should be bleachers. We'll be there, assuming that Nick can leave work. I mean, you are your own boss, so you're coming with, I'm assuming, right?
I'm my own boss. Boss the wife.
Yeah, that's a good point. We'll be there. We will be broadcasting from the bleachers, which it's a much lower angle than King Field, and we'll be offset too, because you can't be in front of the press box. Because if you stand in front of the press box, you block the coach's view apparently. So we got to be offset. So we'll be from the side, but we will be there. As many Blackhawk fans that'll make the trip as possible would be great, but we will be there for those who cannot. So with that. That's Coach Keefer, Nick Pack, Jeremy Nygaard. Good luck on Friday.
Thank you very much.
We'll be there live, and go Blackhawks. So long, everyone.